The term aliens is offensive to extraterrestrials. Now granted, that's not my personal opinion. I didn't say that. You can look it up, celebrity said that recently. And I don't make this video as any form of gossip, like, can you believe that celebrity said that? That's crazy, that's silly. I'm not saying it for that reason. I'm saying that because as the manager of this channel, The Famous American, I have recognized over the years that people get offended on behalf of other people who themselves may not be offended. Now granted, let's unpack the logic of saying that the term aliens is offensive to extraterrestrials. The reason that's hilarious is because A, we have no confirmation that extraterrestrials exist. They very well could. As huge as this existence is, it's very well possible. It's also very well possible that they would have already outsmarted us and, found us a long time ago. Either way, we have no confirmation that they exist. Therefore, we have no confirmation of how they feel, because we have not communicated with these aliens or these extraterrestrials that we do not know for sure that exist. So it's funny, it's absurd. That's a fact. The fact is it's absurd. So what's interesting though, what it reminds me of is this. I've made multiple videos on this channel where I've said things like this. Jewish people throughout history have had an ability to overcome obstacles and often become financially independent through that process and able to end up becoming wealthy further down the road because of that. Okay? So people will leave a comment and say, how could you say that? You're stereotyping Jewish people, saying that Jewish people are rich. Okay? Well, if you look at the history of it, you'll especially find in the United States, who owns the banks, who owns Hollywood, you'll see it. That's not a coincidence, and that is a fact. I did a paper on it in college. My final paper in college was, why was it that Jewish people were so hated by so many people? Why was that? They were always the outsiders, and they were always pushed out of their new home. Well, they learned that they could become bankers and that they could make interest off of loans, whereas Christian populations, it was against their beliefs. One thing leads to another, and eventually Jewish people end up here in the United States. Hollywood's created, banking system's created, and look at that, okay? Now, oh, well, you're negatively stereotyping Jewish people. Don't you realize that's offensive to Jewish people? Okay, so when I've received comments like that, I've commented back because I wanted to know. So the person who says, you're stereotyping Jewish people, saying that Jewish people are wealthy. That's wrong. That's offensive. So then I comment back and I say, are you Jewish? To which the person 100% of the time, whoever they are, they say, no. But, and then they talk about how they're offended on behalf of Jewish people. Now, for what it's worth to anybody, I actually have Jewish ethnic background on my mom's side. Sephardic Jewish through Spain. Okay? I actually have that. So, if anybody was going to be offended by a statement like that, I guess it should be me, not the person who openly admits they have absolutely no Jewish ties whatsoever. So, isn't that silly? Isn't it silly that I could say, hey, Jewish people often are wealthy, and there's a reason for that. It makes sense that I could say that, and other people might not be able to, but even then, anyone with common sense would recognize, well, there's truth in that statement. That makes a lot of sense. But to be offended over that, to be offended over Jewish people, largely often being wealthy or finding ways to large success, that's also absurd. So let's just equate the absurdity and then leave a comment to make sure that I'm not being absurd myself. Here we go. So a celebrity says it's offensive to call aliens, or to call extraterrestrials aliens. That's offensive to them. Meanwhile, I'm over here saying, yeah, Jewish people often, especially in the United States, especially, well, we even saw it throughout Europe too. I mean, Shakespeare had plays about it even. It's offensive to say that Jewish people are often wealthy. Says the person who's not Jewish, even though this guy actually has some of that ethnic background, and I'm the one saying it. Like, isn't that absurd? And it is funny. When people get offended on behalf of other people, when the people who supposedly are offended aren't actually offended. Let's talk about that. Your comments belong right here.